Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go.
It's Keep It in the Ring. I'm Rich Mancuso, live again this Thursday night, as we are every week, November 21, 2024. In the hour ahead, or a little more, because it is stacked this week. Of course, Mike Tyson, Jake Paul, the aftermath, and Amanda Serrano's controversial loss, all taking place this past weekend. You know about it. We'll go into it. We'll analyze it. We're going to look at Zurdo and the Cruiserweight division. He's a champion again. And David Benavidez has another fight coming up in February 1st. Talk about that. And Ryan Garcia's got a fight. We'll go into that as well. Of course, AEW Full Gear coming up this weekend and WWE Survivor Series next weekend. Into that a little bit rapidly later on in the hour. And the MMA stuff. John Jones at the Garden and Edwards at the Garden. Chandler, rather. We are stacked this week with so much nostalgia. We'll have the fact of the week and a special guest at the bottom of the hour. We'll get to that. It's Keep It in the Ring. I'm Rich Mancuso. The fight schedule at the bottom of your screen, a few of them. It's a light one this weekend. It'll pick up again as we get to the end of the year in the boxing calendar. And as well, my social media handles. YouTube channel here at Rich Mancuso. Like, comment, and subscribe. Facebook.com, Rich Mancuso. X Twitter, Ring786. Get me there also on Instagram. And don't forget, we're also live on Stream Punk Entertainment. Like, comment, and subscribe there. Also, like my Keep It in the Ring page on Facebook, as many as you do. Thanks for being with us again. Let's get to it. Well, you had enough of Mike Tyson and Jake Paul? Well, I had, of course, a fight that I never wanted to see, and many of you did because of the spectacle, the names, and sure, it was a spectacle as it was. And look, this was the biggest gate of a fight outside of Las Vegas. Over 72,300 AT&T Stadium, home of the Dallas Cowboys. Look, you knew it was going to have a record crowd, and you knew it was going to draw in the numbers on Netflix, their first fight event. And that drew 60 million or even more, and cost 50 million for Amanda Serrano's fight against Katie Taylor that broke a female boxing for viewership of two females fighting in the ring. But Paul and Tyson were the names, and that's why you got lured in. If you had Netflix, you got it. Netflix probably had more subscribers. Yet we could have done without the freezes on the screen and the network. Botched this one up for their first telecast. We could have done without Rosie Perez at ringside doing commentary. She offered nothing. By the way, you want to read more detailed analysis about this? My comments and my columns on String Punk Entertainment, Latinosports.com, and New York Sportsday.com go into it more in depth. Again, no Rosie Perez. Good to see Roy Jones back on commentary. My friend Mauro Ronaldo doing the commentary blow by blow, and Andre Ward doing some of the co-hosting before and after the fights. But the freezers and then seeing Mike Tyson's cheek butts. No, we didn't need that. A bad first one for Netflix, and they say they're going to do more. They're in the fight business, though many say they're not ready for it, and they better get their act together because Netflix has WWE Monday Night Raw coming up beginning of January, and some football, I believe, on Christmas Day that they're doing for the first time or in the New Year. So they better get their streaming network correct. A lot of it, they say, was because of the overload of so many going into this spot and buying into this fight. Regardless, record number of wagers that because Tyson was the heavy underdog coming in, and a record number of bettors, except for a few states that saw the logistics and they didn't want to go into this because it was 14-ounce gloves again instead of 12 in a heavyweight fight of 8 rounds. And, of course, they were 2-minute rounds and not the standard 3, which from the beginning to me was why I thought this fight was ridiculous when they first announced it. Postponed because of Tyson's ill health. We'll get into that also in a moment. And then, of course, we have the fight itself. It finally came, and all the hoopla and all the things that went on, the slap at the weigh-in, Tyson to Paul, the weigh-in and everything else, and everybody just got more enthused about it. Even fans that aren't fight fans had to tune in. But it was Mike Tyson, the icon, the youngest heavyweight champion on record. It was Mike Tyson, the Hall of Famer. They wanted to see him again, the first time in a professional fight that counted. Remember, he had an exhibition in 2007 with Roy Jones Jr., where they hardly slapped and hit each other. Was silly. This one supposedly was for real, but how real could it have been? The CompuBox numbers told it. Paul threw 78 overall punches across the fight and only 18 for Mike Tyson, a close to 60-year-old man who should not be in the ring. There were a lot of concerns about Mike Tyson's health coming into this fight. They said, he was a health risk, and he got through with it, but you could see he was gassed, except for the first round when he threw some punches and he looked Mike Tyson like a bit, but not the dangerous Mike Tyson killer that he was during his esteemed Hall of Fame heavyweight boxing career as a champion. Jake Paul, to me, is still a joke. To take a fight like this doesn't help his credibility to become the best as he claims to be. Yet, Jake Paul continues to say he is the best. Now, Tyson, of course, and Jake Paul, a lot of people, including myself, said this was scripted from the beginning. And perhaps it was, despite their denials and from Netflix's aisles and Jake Paul's MVP promotion. But I feel this was pre-scripted. And I want to show you a clip that many of you saw that's gone viral already. Fourth round. You could see Paul talking to Tyson, stop pushing back. And Scott Cherson, my great producer behind the scenes, let's roll it and look at this briefly and see Mike Tyson here going after Jake Paul. But Jake Paul is sticking his tongue out and trying to tell him here, hey, Mike, hit me, hit me. To me, this was prearranged, that they knew what they were doing. Okay? Yes, Tyson was gassed. We saw that. He, obviously, a 58-year-old man can't do what he did in his 20s at the prime of his career. Yet Jake Paul continually picks opponents that are over 40 years of age, retired MMA fighters. His long loss to an established heavyweight in Tommy Fury. And he says that he wants to fight the best. But Mike Tyson, strictly for money. Tyson made over $25 million. Money he needs. It's got to pay the government still a lot of money back. Paul, 40, 45 million or more. And there it is. It was a money-making promotion that did the numbers that were expected because you, the fan, bought into it. Even the boxing purist was intrigued about this. I, myself, had to see Mike Tyson again in the ring. Was I disappointed? No, I expected this. Was I expecting the outcome? Yes. I didn't think Tyson would win this fight. I was just hoping he wouldn't get hurt and knocked down, and gladly he didn't. Tyson at the end, though, said this. He was grateful, made a statement on social media. Let's put that up, Scott. He said he was almost died in the month of June, had transfusions. He's thankful. $25 million again, he feels better. And Jake Paul, $40 million better, feels better. But it was exactly this, a showcase. And as I say, and I write, bad for the sport. It doesn't help the image of the sport. And I want to know what you think of that. Like, comment, and subscribe to my channel here on YouTube and String Punk Entertainment. But Tyson saying again he was grateful. Thanks he got out of this alive. And he said he was almost a dead man in June due to transfusions. And thankful. He lost a lot of weight at the time, was able to rebound back. Many people have to question why they would want to fight Jake Paul again. And sure enough, they came out afterwards. And why not? Because established fighters know they can beat Jake Paul, number one. And most of all, after that, they can make an awful lot of money, including these names that popped up on social media making their claim to be Jake Paul's next opponent. Arturo Bertaviv, one of them, the light heavyweight champion. Gervonta Davis, the lightweight champ. One of the best in the world, pound for pound, maybe top 3. All right? But consider this. If they fight Jake Paul, they have a shot to beat him. And because Jake Paul, though, his skills are improved, and Jake Paul does donate a lot of his purses and money to charities and the boxing gyms in Puerto Rico. All credit to him. But as a fighter, he hasn't proved anything yet. If he wants to fight Bertavie or Gervonta Davis or one of the established young superstars in the sport where a lot of money could be made, no doubt about it, he won't win. He can't beat these guys right now, but they're calling him out because they know there's a lot of money to be made, just like Mike Tyson made a lot of money. Exposure to fighters is good, no doubt about it. Fighting Jake Paul to get that exposure only means one thing: income, money that we will never see. But he's not the best, beating the 40-year-olds. Name them. Nate Robinson, former NBA player, retired MMA fighter Ben Askren, Tyron Woodley, Anderson Silva, MMA, Nate Diaz, MMA. Again, the loss to Tommy Fury on his record because he was an established fighter. And then Mike Tyson saying this again, which disturbed me afterwards. He wants to do this again. Well, he's going to make $20 million again. He won't. Will he do it again? He's risking to get hurt furthermore. I think, and I hopefully say this for his good, Mike, be an ambassador for the sport and don't fight again. You're a health risk. You're risking yourself. And fans saw you come back in the ring again. My colleague Guy Didick of yahoosports.com has been on this program, had a very good statement to make. And you got to read his column about what he said about the fight. Keith Idek on Yahoo said Paul wants Canelo Alvarez, and Jake Paul has said he wants to fight the pound-for-pound best in the sport, Canelo Alvarez, who doesn't need Jake Paul and doesn't want Jake Paul. Who doesn't need him, as Keith Idek says? Exactly. Because if you fight Jake Paul again, you are going to make a lot of money. And thank you all for commenting. I'll try and get back to all of you. Regardless, you bought into this fight. Paul is a phenom. He makes a lot of money, but until he fights those legitimate fighters, legitimate opponents, he's a nothing. Mike Tyson was an icon. That's it. Mike Tyson made history going back in the ring as supposedly the oldest heavyweight back in the boxing ring. I'll have more on that later on in the program, too. Calling out names. Jake Paul does. Fighters want him. They do, because of a lot of money. Time will tell where this goes. My friends, I'm glad it's over. There was a big build-up to it, a lot of hype. Again, was it good for boxing? Absolutely not. Hopefully never see this again. Though the undercard before, the co-mains were pretty good. You got to hand it to this woman. This female fighter, Amanda Serrano, a 7th division champion. This is going to lead to a trilogy now with Katie Taylor. They rematched from a few years ago at Madison Square Garden that made boxing history, sold out the Garden, first main event for 2 females. Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano once again put on a show. And Katie Taylor wins this fight, controversial. She did, which obviously is going to lead to a trilogy. I am sure at some point next year, we're going to see the 2 best female fighters in the world go at it again. Serrano was robbed again. And despite all this, Katie Taylor and her team say differently. This was 2 of the highest paid females in the sport, as they are. A great fight. As Ricky Painter says, and we all agree with that, and worth watching on Netflix. Punch Stats tell the story. 324 punches, the most for a female fight. Serrano stepped up 3 weight classes for this. The clash of heads obviously did her in. Katie Taylor likes to clash, and she did, which caused the cut of the right eye of Amanda Serrano. So, judges had it 95-94. I had it the other way for Amanda Serrano. But obviously Katie Taylor got it because her final 4 rounds were much better than Serrano. Maybe that's what the 3 by mice at ringside saw. Serrano said in a statement, and good for her, she's a classy individual. Jake Paul, another positive thing about Jake Paul, is propelling Amanda Serrano to where she is today, the highest paid and top-rated female fighter in the business. So Serrano, the pride of Puerto Rico, said she is the pride of Puerto Rico, and those on the island, she said, I do this for my sport, my team, my island, and for the show. Good for her. Trilogy for sure coming. Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor. The co-main event also underneath before Serrano was Mario Barros and the Mexican battle with Abel Ramos. Split decision. Split draw. 29-2-1 and 18 KOs is Barrios. Abel Ramos, WBC welterweight champ. Maybe another rematch here as well. Good, well-contested fight. But there is maybe Boots Ennis on the horizon. There's also, for Barrios, welterweight champion, Ennis looking to unify that division. Barrios put Ramos down with a left. 114, 112, 113, 113 was the difference. That's how it went. One judge, though, one blind mice at ringside had a 116, 110 Barrios. I don't know what he was seeing, but we could see Barrios and Ennis maybe to try and get that unification going in the welterweight division. Very good action fight. 204 power punches. Barrios landed 279 of them. Ramos drew 753. Barrios 789. Astonishing numbers for this welterweight title fight. But again, 116, 110, throw that out. I don't know what they were talking to. On the card also, Top Rank was able to get their young 27-year-old featherweight Bruce Carrington on that card. The MVP Promotions barred him. 8-round unanimous decision over Daniel Caldwell. A shutout on all cards. 45% of his power punches landed. Caldwell went down twice. No fight at all. Carrington improved 14-0 undefeated. 8 knockouts. A legitimate and good Golden Boy card, though. Oscar De La Hoya in Saudi Arabia the next night. That was watching boxing. It was a Latino night in Saudi Arabia. 5 good fights on the zone. And congratulations to this guy, William Zildo Ramirez. We'll talk. Well, let's first talk about Zapata. William Zapata won his fight 32-0, 24 knockouts, number 1 rated lightweight. And a close win for former IBF 130-pound champ Tevin Farmer. Farmer lost the fight for the WBC interim title, very close at 135-pound title. He lost. Farmer dropped Zapata in round 4 with a straight left. Split decision, 95-94, 95-94. Twice Farmer is Shakur next maybe for Farmer. Let's see where that goes. And number 9, super lightweight, Oscar Durante, 28-2-1, 22 knockouts, 10th-round unanimous decision. A good one there. Now, Oscar De La Hoya's champion, Golden Boy, Zurdo Ramirez. He reigns again. He's a champion, a former light heavyweight champ. That now out of Mexico, he is a cruiserweight champ. Unified some of those titles on the Golden Boy card. Zurdo Ramirez, Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez, unified part of those titles, the cruiserweight title, a division that doesn't get much acclaim in the sport. WBO, WBA champion, 47-1, 20 knockouts over the WBO champ, Chris Balam Smith. 12-round unanimous decision. He outworked Smith. The judges had it right. 116-112 twice, 116-113. This is a great story for Zuro. Who's next for him? He is relentless. He didn't quit when he lost his light heavyweight titles a few years back. Got up and went to a cruiserweight. Could go back to light heavyweight if he wants, but he's a champion at cruiserweight. Who's next for him? Let's put up that image and take a look. Could be McFarlane, the WBC champ, or Zayo Opeda, the IBF champ, or Arturo Benavides, who's a light heavyweight champ, who could take him on as a cruiserweight. Benavides might be looking at that, or they go back to light heavyweight and fight each other. Smith landed 33 more power punches. 4th round, though, hurt Smith, and the body punch in the 7th seemed to be his finish. Seemed to be the finish for him. But for Zurdo Ramirez, a lot ahead. Congratulations to him, a champion again as a cruiserweight champion. And Oscar De La Hoya confirmed that Virgil Ortiz Jr., his next fight at 154. Ortiz Jr., one of his newest fighters in the Golden Boy stable. It could be against the champion, Sebastian Fundora, or Boots Ennis again at 154, or even Terrence Crawford. Because Terrence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez, that's not going to happen. Not going to happen. Don't even think about it. There's no way Crawford is going to move up in weight 3 classes to get Canelo. But this is boxing, my friends, as you know. You never know. All right, we talk about David Benavidez, okay? Who will never get Canelo Alvarez, and he's about admitted to that for sure. But he's making a mark of himself now at a light heavyweight, eyeing Arturo Benavidez's title. So Benavidez announced a fight he wanted, and it's going to be not against Arturo Benavidez, because it's not available, because Benavidez and Bivol are going to have their rematch. So Benavidez is going to have to wait it out. So there's a supercard set up on pay-per-view, Amazon Prime, Saturday, February 1st, announced yesterday, T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. He's going to face the undefeated David Morrell Jr., a good damn fight. He's a former unified world champ. Steve Fulton Jr. also going to be on the card, and former champ Isaac Pitbull Cruz and Angel Fierro on that card. This is going to be a good one on Amazon Prime, pay-per-view, February 1st. And for Benavidez, a chance to wait it out to see if Benavidez and Bivol have their rematch, and then he could get a shot at the light heavyweight title, but no Canelo Alvarez. Rule it out. That's not in the wing. And so it's a Benavidez who's had a face-to-face photo shoot with Morrell, and that got nasty. And yet it's crazy because at the press conference yesterday in Las Vegas, they shook hands after all that, and they smiled with each other. And that's boxing, my friends, a hype for a major fight. Figure it out. But then Benavidez said this about Morrell. It's been taking 2 or 3 years, talking 2 or 3 years of disrespect about him, his dad and his brother Jose. So he says, Benavidez, that Morrell and him, this is personal. And he's going to break his jaw, his mouth, and leave him something to remember. Whether regardless or not, Benavidez and Morrell is going to be a good fight. And in the end, they're going to embrace, because the hype of a fight, that's what you always see. All right. It's that time of the hour where we talk about Ryan Garcia. And yes, he has a fight. He's been teasing about something. Here are his tweets about it. He's fighting in Japan, December 30th, an exhibition in Tokyo. And then he said he's going to go after Jake Paul after that. December 30th, Ryan Garcia in an exhibition because he can't fight a sanctioned fight due to his suspension until next April 1st. And in Tokyo, Japan, he's going to get a guy that fought Manny Pacquiao, a kickboxing champion. And he's going after him in an exhibition. And he says he's going to have a lot to say at a press conference this coming Tuesday in Tokyo about it. It's going to be contested against this guy, Ampo, who fought Pacquiao just a few months ago in another exhibition. Ampo's a kickboxing champion, 153 pounds, boxing rules, 8 2-minute rounds on pay-per-view. If you want to see Ryan Garcia in an exhibition, you're going to have to pay for it. I got to hand this to Ryan Garcia. I get on his case every week. He's been quiet about his training, but obviously he has been, and he wants to get back in the ring. Now he has his wish. He's back. Though it's not a sanctioned fight and it doesn't count, because during the suspension he can do this. Any fighter can, and fighting overseas in Japan. But you get to see Ryan Garcia in again. He'll probably come in way overweight, and it'll keep him in tune to get back in the ring the beginning of April when the suspension is lifted. And as I keep saying, Garcia keeps calling out Devin Haney again for the rematch if Haney wants it, if Haney wants to do it. In the meantime, you get to see Ryan Garcia again, but this time it doesn't count at all. And hopefully, even though it's an exhibition and in Japan, he doesn't take steroids, that he comes in natural. And we all know where that went with Devin Haney. But he's back in the ring. All right, I believe we have our guest waking up. I'm waiting for Michael Olajide Jr. We go back a long time. He's in New York City. He's a Canadian, proud, a former a fighter who fought and got injured in a ring and it was blind in one eye, but still very active in the sport. I'm waiting for him to come on. Hopefully he does. And we could talk more to Michael Olajide Jr. and I could back around him and so. This part of the segment with boxing's over. I wanted to get Olajide talk about the Tyson-Paul fiasco and all that I thought was a fiasco. And again, I want to know what you think. Some of you have commented, I missed them already, but my social media blew up over the weekend, and a majority of fans that I talked to, followers of me, all said the same thing. Fix and a farce. And why is Mike Tyson doing this? As Ricky Painter said, a boring fight. Yes, it was a fight that made a lot of money, as we've explained. And as Ricky says, Tyson would have knocked him out in round one if it was legit. I don't know if he would have knocked him round one if it was legit. It was rigged, Ricky, I agree. Mike Tyson at 58 years of age, I'll say it again, did not belong in the ring. This was not going to be the Mike Tyson that we saw in his prime. This was not the killer instinct Mike Tyson that were accustomed to seeing for years. This was not the Mike Tyson that was the youngest to get the heavyweight championship. This was Mike Tyson, the old man, who needed to stay home and be an ambassador for the sport where he serves it better. Let's face it. Again, my final thoughts as we wait for Michael Olajide Jr. If not, Scott, we're going to go to a quick break to get him in. Mike Tyson, the icon. Mike Tyson, the Hall of Famer. Mike Tyson did not discredit his credibility in the ring last Friday night at AT&T Stadium. But what he did was make himself more into a farce at 58 years of age because he needed the money, and we all knew he was not going to be the Mike Tyson of his 20s. We knew that. It was a farce. It was rigged, in my opinion, despite what many say wasn't a rigged fight, despite what many say wasn't predetermined like a WWE script. But it certainly looked like that in that fourth round. And it certainly appeared that Jake Paul didn't want to hurt him, as he said. And it certainly looked like Mike Tyson kept pushing back because he could not do what he once did. Let's face the facts and the reality. This was an old man Mike Tyson and not the 20 or 25-year-old Tyson that devastated opponent after opponent and became what he became in the sport. On that note, Scott, we don't have Michael Olajide Jr. yet. Let's take a brief time out and we'll line him up. I'm Rich Mancuso, live. This is Keep It in the Ring on my YouTube channel. Comment and subscribe to my channel on String Punk Entertainment as well and the AGT Network. And like my Keep in the Ring page on Facebook. Back in a moment. Hopefully we'll have Michael Olajide Jr. If not, we'll move on. Stay with us. I'm Rich Mancuso. This is Keep It in the Ring.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go.
All right, we got him. I knew I'd get him. There he is, an old friend. Scott, I saw his image. Is he there? Michael? All right, we're getting there. He is. Michael Olajide Jr. You there, my friend?
I'm sure here. Yeah, thank you. This
Hey,
is
thanks. Sorry you had problem logging on, but I do the same thing. This technical world of ours, we have to adjust to all the different things that go on. But look, we're old friends. We go back a long time. We used to. I watched him fight years ago at Madison Square Garden at the Old Felt Forum, and then sometimes he'd just be sitting there with me at ringside, and we talk up a storm about the sport. It's great to have him here. He was a top middleweight in 1987 and trained at one time by the great late Angelo Dundee, who was the trainer of great late Hall of Fame heavyweight champ Muhammad Ali. And Michael was 25-5-0, 32 bouts. Then he got injured his right eye, and he's blind in that right eye. That's why he wears the patch. He's been an advocate about blindness as well since then. And Michael's not fighting no more, but he's become a coach and an advocate for the good for the sport. Welcome, my friend. It's so good to see you again. It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been decades, Rich. It's a great time, though. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate you.
Well, it's good. I see you post a lot on Facebook, and I said, man, we got to reacquaint, put you on to keep in the ring. And Michael, the first thing I got to say, because I know you're a student of the sport, as well as, as a former fighter, and you still love it so much as I do. What did you make of Mike Tyson, who you knew, and Jake Paul? Give me your brief synopsis and your opinion about that.
Yeah, I think, boy, you want Mike to do great. That's one thing, because your love for him. He's just such a part of such a huge part of the history of the sport, and an incredibly talented fighter he was. So you want him to do well, and then there's another part of you that wants to defend the honor of the sport as well. But there are a lot of things that time, not just time, but time cannot overcome, and what Mike has subject his body to over the decades that he's been fighting, from when he was a child up until like 50 years up until now. It was just too much to overcome. I don't think it was anything that Jake did that threw him off. Obviously, I think it was the fact that this fight was all about what Mike could not do. It had nothing to do with Jake at all. Jake is pedestrian. He's not even, you know what I mean? I honestly, I'm not saying it just because, I like Mike or I'm defending the honor of the sport or anything like that. But Jake did not do anything special that any other fighter could not do. And there's no way that Jake is beating even Mike's last fight, when it was a terrible fight. He isn't beating that version of Mike. Never mind what he fought now at 58 years of age, 59 years of age.
Michael Olajide Jr. Michael, did you think, as I did and many did, that this fight was rigged, that it was scripted and it wasn't real, that they had this predetermined already?
Yeah, I mean, I tend to, I don't really, my mind doesn't skew that way. I tend to think it was the way it was. I mean, I thought going in that Mike had at least enough to hit this kid on the chin and get rid of him. I thought he really could do it in that time, but he went through this massive blood transfusion, and I don't believe he was really even training for this fight. I really don't. I think that I don't remember seeing him spar at all for this fight. Now, what person trains for a fight and doesn't spar? You know what I mean? I think there were just too many. It was a money fight. Mike is going to earn a lot of money. Jake's going to earn a lot of money, and everyone else in between is going to get a lot of money out of it. So I believe that was.
And they did. They made a lot of money.
Yeah. They made a lot. A lot of people said to me, "Oh, Mike doesn't need the money." I'm like, "Who doesn't need $20 million? Elon Musk would take $20 million." Are you kidding
right.
me? You know what I mean?
You certainly never made that much money in your career.
No, absolutely.
And during that era, when I covered your fights, no fighter made more than to get to $1 million was tough.
Yeah, was
to think about what they're getting now. If you had to talk to Mike now, what would you tell him? Would you tell him, don't do this again? It's a risk.
I mean, I don't think Mike really wants to do it. And I just think the offer was just too great for him to say no to. And I think defensively, he had enough to know that Jake couldn't get to him. He couldn't get to him with anything significant. Mike at least had that down, and Jake did have, like, there was the fear aspect. You see the way he flinched when Mike did something.
Yeah, that fourth round made everyone say, this is rigged now because he pulled back and he's telling Mike to hit him. Come get me. Come hit him. I mean, you see that during a fight. You do see that during fights. You know that where fighters taunt each other in that ring. But this was too obvious. It was too obvious. And then Mike, after the fight, says that when he was asked, he said, probably again. And he was even challenging Logan Paul, Jake's brother, who's in the WWE. And there's a report today that Mike Tyson, Logan Paul, maybe for WrestleMania, which makes sense. That's scripted. But no Mike Tyson. I don't want to see him in the ring again. I don't.
I think they killed the news about Mike getting the blood transfusion until afterwards. And I think that really let a lot of people down. I know it did something to me, because if I knew that going in and he had to do all this medical stuff, like, what was it, 9 months ago? And now he's supposed to be recovered and be 100%. I mean, look, I'm 61. I'm 61. If I get in the ring now, my performance is going to be decidedly better than what Mike's was. Do you know what I mean? Blind eye, the whole thing. I'm gonna be. Someone's gonna get hit. We're exchanging punches. You know what I mean? But with it wasn't there, and I think that's just because, he just was not. Something was impairing his physicality, and that was the blood transfusion and the fact that he didn't train. They didn't have him in sparring, because if he was sparring, he'd get hit. And once you get hit, listen, one of the worst things, Rich, that happens to a fighter when they get older, and they don't even have to be old for this to happen. It happened with Wilfredo Benitez and a lot of other fighters in their early 20s. And that there's a burnout, there's a resiliency that you have. And there's when that runs low, it doesn't come back. And that's the thing. So the adrenaline that you would usually get before a fight, once it's gone, it never comes. You cannot get it back. It's impossible. And so Mike had dipped into the well too many times. He dipped into the well in the fights that he lost. He dipped into the well with some of the fights he won as well. And there was sparring and all the rest of that kind of stuff. And after a while, that adrenaline, that just doesn't happen anymore. And what you do is you flatline. And there's absolutely nothing that you can do for it. Like, you feel the pain. You feel every ounce, every inch of pain. If the glove hits you wrong, and when you were young with that adrenaline, that masked everything. There was no pain involved. But now
none at all.
You feel the glove just skin you, and you feel that, and that pain registers in the brain. You start thinking, well, you know what? If I do this, I'm going to get hit. So let me just go into survival mode, because humans just don't like pain. That's just the way we're all. Right. There's no animal that does.
Those are great points you bring out, Michael. What about Jake Paul? Can you see him being a legitimate champion one day?
No, absolutely not. No. Listen, he's not going to beat Beterbiev. He won't beat Canelo. He won't beat. Listen, he won't beat Gervonta Davis. Would knock him out. That's all there is to it. And Gervonta Davis is a light.
Yet they want to. They said that they want to go out. They would like to face him because they know how much money could be made, and obviously, they could beat him as well. Mm-hmm. And Jake Paul's not going to turn them down, but he will turn them down because he knows he can't beat them.
Yeah, exactly.
And until he fights a legitimate fighter, he's not the best as he claims to be.
No, he's not.
But you got to give him credit in ways that he propelled Amanda Serrano a lot, got her to where she is now.
Yeah.
And he's also helped the kids. I mean, he does contribute to the gyms in Puerto Rico and helping. That's where he lives, Jake Paul. And, all credit to that. But was this bad for boxing, as I keep saying?
I don't think so, because Mike wouldn't be considered a legitimate boxer right now, right? So Mike was a great talent, and he's a legend in his own right. But he isn't an active fighter. And if you're fighting somebody, I don't care if you could not even be, if you could be a professional boxer, not even rated in the top 10, top 20, top 100 in the world, and you could fight somebody who's absolutely like there just aren't that anymore, and you don't get the credit for it. You know what I mean? It's just you can't get the credit for that win, and that's as a professional fighter. So
Mm.
someone like Jake isn't going to get it. It's expected. It really is expected. I mean, he's had 4 years experience in a ring. Jake
Right. And
has.
he's getting better. There's no doubt about it. His right has got better. There's a little more speed in him, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, you can't tell until he fights that legitimate guy. And he
Yeah.
hasn't done that. Michael, what are you doing these days? Why don't you update us what's going on in your life?
Boy, well, I'm doing an online fitness workout. It's at systemofsilk.com, and it's an incredible workout series coming up. And it's just, so I've been into fitness boxing for a long time, and it's really helped me in terms of, having an energy, something to do with the energy. I had to start boxing at 25, 26 years of age with the eye injuries.
That injury came to your eye in the fight with Marvin Hagler. Am I right?
Well, it was actually, I thought, yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was actually versus Tommy Hearns, but it happened in
Tommy Hearns, right.
In 86, I was sparring at Gleason's when it used to be on 7th Avenue over by the Garden. And I caught a real bad punch in the eye. And then, so it was bad then, but it got worse. In 1989, I was sparring with Murky Sosa. If you know Murky's a monster. Oh, my God.
Right. He was, yeah.
Yeah, and I caught a punch under the eye, and that dropped it. And that just like whipped a hole in the socket and just dropped the eyeball.
Yeah, and that was it. You sustained damage. So you're legally blind in the right eye.
Legally blind in the right eye.
Yeah.
And, so now, I make patches. I make patches for people that actually that have orbital floor fractures, and they have double vision, or they have a thing called amblyopia, which is what kids suffer from. When they have like one eye is kind of not tracking with the other.
I'm familiar with. I'm very familiar with the eyes and the vision problems because yours truly here had 2 corneal transplants. So I'm very familiar with it. Yeah. Yeah.
So you have to cover one eye so the other one learns to track, right?
Yeah. But you function well. You function well enough to continue to do what you got to do on a daily basis since that injury over the years. And your fight career, you also fought a friend of mine, a Hall of Famer from the Bronx, Iran Barkley.
Oh, yeah.
That was another one. I know you don't want to remember that fight, but I covered that fight. I remember it well.
Yeah. It's a part of my history. Yeah. We really went at it. And it was billed Big Apple Bad Blood. It was on NBC and everything. And it was exactly that, because Iran and I would get along. We got along really well initially. Then it got a little bit tempestuous. And I know
as it always does. Yeah. It's understandable. Yeah. What do you remember about working with Angelo Dundee in your corner?
Angelo Dundee was an incredible, he understands the psyche of a fighter, and that's irreplaceable. Like, a lot of trainers don't have that. Your day-to-day trainer doesn't have the psyche. He doesn't understand the fight pattern. Like he understands there's a plan and a program you have to go in order to defeat an individual. So he's in your corner for that, and he follows. He's really great at being able to do that. Angelo is not your everyday trainer. That's, I had Hector Roca for that, and every single other fighter, Michael Nunn, that that fought with Angelo. They had that daily trainer with them. Angelo's not going to hold mitts for you. He'll give you suggestions on the bag, and he'll tell you what to do, and he'll get you psychologically ready. But he isn't the day-to-day grunt work. He's not doing that with you.
You don't find trainers like him much more no more. You just don't do it. And so you're living in New York, or you're up in Canada?
I live in New York City. I've been living here.
Got to meet up, have dinner or something. I got to catch up with you face to face.
That's great. How you loving your show?
It's going. It's not an easy sell, but it's picking up, and I've got some. I love doing it. I do this for the fans.
Yes.
I do it for the fans, and me. I'm boxing. That's my love, my passion. Plus all contact sport. Do you take an interest in the sport now as much as you did before? You follow it, obviously. And who do you look at as the top fighters right now today?
Today, I mean, I have to say, Gervonta Davis. I really love what he does. Like physically and mentally, he brings everything together, and he always comes 100%. I really like that about him. Terrence Crawford, of course, I like him. The kid Noye,
From
from Japan.
Japan. Yeah.
Yeah, he's an incredible athlete. He's an incredible boxer. I'd like to see him. Obviously he's going to get bigger fights, and we're going to find out the real deal. You know what I mean? But I like what he does. He's pure fighter, and I really like that about him. There's no distractions. He's all about one thing, and that's defeating the person,
Right.
and usually by KO. Right? So you love the
In your opinion, is Canelo Alvarez or Terrence Bud Crawford the best pound for pound? I hate saying pound for pound best, but what is your take on that?
For skills, when I look at the skills of a fighter, the ability, I have to say Gervonta Davis for me is the best fighter in the world. I think pound for pound, Gervonta is and again, I'm not with that term either, but we got to use it. That's the one that's coming out with. So I think for the person that does everything, like is a blanket, like he can box, he can infight, he can do all the things. He can also punch. He also could take a great shot. I mean, I just say Gervonta Davis is probably the most well-rounded, talented individual, and Usyk is up there. Obviously, is like probably number 2 or so. For me,
who do you like in the rematch? Who do you like in that rematch, December 21st for the heavyweight title? Usyk or Fury?
So initially, you know what? Initially, I called that fight for Usyk. I thought he would thump Fury, and I believe he will again. I don't think it can get any better for Fury. I don't see how, unless he comes out there and he tries to. I thought the only option that he had to beat Usyk in the first place was to do what he did to Klitschko, and that's kind of like suffocating.
Right. Well, the state of the heavyweight division always calls to me is the face of the sport, boxing, and hopefully that'll be determined. Quickly, Mike, before I let you go, those days at the Felt Forum when you fought, and I covered those fights.
Yeah,
that was great. That was an era in the sport. The sport was really on a high then too.
Yes.
In the early 90s, late 80s, and Madison Square Garden Felt Forum had shows every 2 weeks. You were a part of that. I was a part of that. Quickly, what is one thing that comes to mind about that old school day at the Garden at the Felt Forum?
I remember I just a couple of weeks ago went to a promotion, and they had a fight in the Felt Forum. It's not the Felt Forum anymore, but it brought back
the Hulu Theater,
Yeah, the Hulu. It brought back such memories. I hadn't been in there since I fought, so I sat in there. And I looked up and I saw the ring is in the same place and the stage is in the same place. Obviously the interior design has changed, but the actual physicality of the place is still exactly right there, the way it was, and it brought back those memories.
A lot of memories.
Yeah, I mean,
Did you think about getting back in the ring when you were there?
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah,
it's a young man's game, right? Obviously.
As Michael Olajide Jr. Well, this was great reuniting with you, and we are going to meet up face to face soon. I promise you that. What are you doing now, briefly, and how do fans reach out to you? Tell us.
Well, right now, I'm developing these fitness workouts. They're really amazing at systemofsilk.com. And SOS is like the acronym for it. So it's really cool because fitness is so important. And it's just,
it is. Maybe I, for one, that I might need to come to you to get in shape again.
Please come on through. And, and I'm working with young fighters. I'm working with an amateur fighter right now that's going to be significant. You're going to be significant down the road. He's going to be somebody he has a talent, and there's a way in which you teach. And it's funny because all the experiences that I've had, I get a chance to use them now. And it's really exciting to me. It's fun. And it makes it easier for the kid I'm training. And it's sort of fulfilling to myself. I didn't get a chance to fulfill what I thought was.
Where do you do that? At home or in a gym or in a facility?
No, in a gym. So there are a couple of gyms here in New York. There's one up on 125th Street, Mendez. Mm-hmm. And there's one down on like Broadway and Lafayette, which is Work Train Fight. And the amateur, it's getting competitive here again. And Gleason's Gym out in Brooklyn, of course.
Right.
Sonia Lamonicus and the American Boxing Association.
Right. So how do How do fans reach you? How do they reach out to you? Where do they get you? On Facebook?
Yeah, they can get me on Facebook at my name, Michael Olajide Jr., or I'm also on Instagram under the same. El Cuerpo de Papi. If you speak Spanish, that's Body Daddy. That's a fitness
Of
thing.
course,
But,
yeah.
yeah, Michael Olajide Jr. at either one, Facebook or Instagram.
All right,
And
we'll
then
run that by the fans again and keep in touch, Michael. And
thank you so
you,
much.
finally, is the sport healthy or is this sport obsolete to many? What do
I
you
think the
think?
sport is, boxing is eternally evolving, and sometimes it drops back, and sometimes it goes forward, but it's always on the tip of people's tongue because boxing is the true measure of athleticism and the true measure of a man. It really is.
Yeah,
Boxing is something that where it's not like MMA. You can do everything. You can elbow, you can kick, you can
right.
choke them out, all the rest of that kind of stuff. But boxing and its limitations is like an absolutely strong sport. So
Yes, I think
you can't do all the other things, but you
despite
can.
all the controversy and despite what I say and what we saw with Paul Tyson and everything, I think the sport is thriving. It's just
Yeah,
that it's not on TV, television, where people can see it regularly. You
yeah,
have to get a streaming network and you have to pay for it. But
yeah.
there's
You have to pay for
superstars in the sport, and they got us, the old timers,
it.
who talk about it to keep it thriving.
There
And
you
that's you,
go.
Michael
And
Olajide
fighters
Jr.
get paid more today than they did at
Yeah.
any time
Oh,
in
I
boxing.
know. Well, we don't as broadcasters and writers, but the fighters do. But Michael Olajide Jr., this has been a pleasure to reunite with you. Great insights on Paul Tyson and so much more. And we're sure going to be in touch. And I will meet up with you soon, face to
Of
face,
course,
and we'll
yeah.
relive the whole times. Thanks for your time, champ.
Of
Really
course. Thank
appreciate
you,
it.
brother.
Keep up
Appreciate
the
you.
great work. I'll be in touch,
All the best,
okay?
John. Thank you. I look
Thank you,
forward to it.
Michael. Great seeing
Peace
you
out.
again. Michael
Bye.
Olajide Jr. What a great to have him back talking to him again, having him on the program. A great fighter he was before he got injured, and great insights on the sport. And we'll run by where you can reach him if you're in the New York City in that area, where if you want to get some training in or whatever and some physical fitness done, that's the guy to do it. All right. Let's quickly go to UFC and go to that part of the program because we had a big show at Madison Square Garden. According to Dana White, MMA UFC 309 broke a gate record, and it could have because you had some good competition. Two of the top stars in MMA were on that card, including John Jones. We'll take a look at the stars were out too to show you how significant this was. Scott, put that image up. The president-to-be Donald Trump was there, and Musk, and Triple H, and WWE, and so many others. They draw to Dana White's MMA events. Of course, they're all friends. They're all in the same circle, so they're going to be there. But what a great show it was. They put on a show. The co-main event, former welterweight champ Charles Oliveira. If we have some images of him, he bested Michael Chandler, the guy that everybody wants to see to fight Conor McGregor, at a rematch of their 2021 fight in the octagon. And of course, Chandler afterwards, he lost, but gave Oliveira a fight, and a good one it was in the octagon, asking for Conor McGregor. And Dana White said he's not committed to say that McGregor-Chandler could be set, and if McGregor fights again, it won't be until late next year. But Chandler will get something else before that. And on UFC 39, here's John Jones, the heavyweight champ. And what a champ he is. Scott, roll that brief clip of his striking finish. Here it is. There's the great John Jones, who is destined to do more and more, despite saying he's going to retire if he can't get Alex Pereira as a light heavyweight. He's going to continue. He got rid of all that buzz and all the rumors saying he is not retiring. Dana White would like to see John Jones, but not against Pereira yet. So we'll see. But he handled the former champion Stipe, retaining his heavyweight title in the third round with the TKO, and is not retiring and continues to make UFC MMA history, the great John Jones. And will he fight Alex Pereira? It's inevitable. It'll happen. Just don't know when. That's up to Dana White. It's his call. Striking in the kick and just doing everything. Asparell's the guy that he wants. Dana White has to make that fight, and I'm sure he will. Well, that's the suspense. Aspero, or is it going to be Jones and Pereira? And when they do Jones Pereira, UFC, MMA, it's going to be a blockbuster record breaking fight. All right, let's move on and talk WWE real quick. Getting ready for the Survivor Series next weekend up in Toronto. And Netflix, though, comes out with their debut with WWE January 6th. Here is the poster. And it's going to be, this is going to be Netflix, and they're going to be debuting in Los Angeles at the Intuit Dome on January 6th. They made that official this week. And it's going to be star-studded premiere on Netflix for WWE, hopefully with no network streaming glitches and so forth. And they're going to see all the stars on there. They're probably going to see a title match. CM Punk will be there, I'm sure, and Drew McIntyre will be there as well, and Cody Rhodes, of course. And that's going to be a star-studded Raw, Monday Night Raw, Netflix debut, probably 3 hours. Seth Rollins expected to be the 5th member. That's what it looks like. To join Roman Reigns and the Usos and Sami Zayn in their War Games match at Survivor Series on the 30th up in Toronto. Or will it be Brock Lesnar? There's a lot of rumor and buzz that Lesnar's coming back. And what about Paul Heyman? Is he going to be with Sikoa? Does he bring Lesnar back? Let's watch SmackDown tomorrow night and see on the USA Network, the latest about Paul Heyman's return. And no more if Seth Rollins indeed becomes that 5th member to determine Roman Reigns or Sikoa as the real tribal chief. Very, very suspenseful and interesting. WWE continues. LA Knight, Nakamura. That's going to happen. That's Survivor Series. Cody Rhodes looking at Owens and Randy Orton. Triple type of, the 3 of them together. That looks like that's in the cards for WWE. And, look for Bronson Reed and CM Punk. That's brewing up. Just getting hints of that. And Rhea Ripley now in War Games. It's official. She's going to go after Raquel and Liv Morgan in their War Games match. Going to be a good Survivor Series. It looks like Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair. Talk. When are they coming back? Well, there's a lot of talk. Lynch will be returning at some point in the next few months, and we haven't heard much about Charlotte Flair's return. And how about Linda McMahon, incoming President Donald Trump again naming their Department of Education? More so, the rumors have been squashed. It's true. I knew this, but it wasn't official. Linda McMahon and husband Vince have separated. They are no longer a husband and wife team. A lot of it from the scandal, a lot of it now that Linda McMahon, Department of Education Secretary for incoming President Donald Trump, and maybe that won't get confirmed because a lot of revelations today and a lot of news about Linda McMahon and the scandal with her husband Vince and all of that went on that she saw. And I don't know. But anyway, the news is Linda and Vince is split. All right. AEW Full Gear, Saturday night, Prudential Center, New Jersey, payperview.com, one of the outlets to watch it. Ospreay and Fletcher, and Orange Cassidy and John Moxley for the AEW title. Expect Moxley to retain, but it's going to be a dangerous match, according to Tony Khan on his media call today. I'm supposed to meet with Orange Cassidy tomorrow for lunch and go over and do a feature on him. Still in the balance. If so, you'll see it on my social media. Swerve Strickland Lashley, I'm looking forward to it because it's going to lead, I believe, to Bobby Lashley getting Swerve Strickland into the new Hurt Syndicate. And Tony Storm says she's retired. Tony Khan says no. We'll see. Attendance continues to be very low at AEW venues. Tony Khan is not addressing that. Pay-per-view numbers are not that big, though. On his conference call today, he did say that Max and is getting more involved, and with their pay-per-views, numbers will go up, and also that the talent keeps coming in, signing free agents and whatever. Their crowds are very small. Their ratings are not that great. Tony Khan on the media call also said today that still Rampage and that program on Friday night still in the balance, might end up on Max. that Collision to him and Dynamite are still doing well and expect a very good, interesting capacity crowd for Full Gear in Newark on Saturday night. All right, so that's going to be a good one. Also, talking about expanding his shows to Mexico. Tony Khan said that today. He wants to do that. He's already looking at Australia, and of course, they've been in London for AEW All In. And the big news is that they're returning to New York at the Hammerstein Ballroom, which used to be the home of Monday Night Raw, the original home. 3 events, December 20th to the 22nd, and that would be with Dynamite. A Fight for the Fallen on January 1st as well will be the debut on Max, part of their new media rights deal. So there's a lot going on with AEW, and Tony Khan says the promotion is very healthy. I got to think that they are struggling based on the crowds, and they're going to go to smaller venues, by the way, to be determined how healthy they are. All right, going to wrap this all up after this brief timeout, nostalgia, and a little couple of other things to do it. I'm Rich Mancuso. This is Keep It in the Ring. Back in a jiffy, as I say. Stay with us.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go.
9 p.m., top of the hour. We're going to go a little over. Thanks to my great producer at String Punk Entertainment, the great Scott Churston. Each and every week he puts up with me. And also, don't forget my social media, X, Twitter, Ring786, Facebook.com, Rich Mancuso. My content could be read on LatinoSports.com, NewYorkSportsDay.com, String Punk Entertainment, and some other places. Just get me on social media. You'll find out what I'm doing, where I'm at. And don't forget, fans, we have a light boxing schedule this week, but it picks up again a week after Thanksgiving, and we'll tell you more about that this next week, the week to come. What else? Nostalgia time. We do this every week. Enjoy doing it, and a very good this week, very famous fight. They can remember No Mas, November 25th, 1980. There was Sugar Ray Leonard, the Hall of Famer, the champion. He regained the WBC welterweight championship against No Mas, as he's known, Roberto Duran. This is the fight. No Mas quit in the 8th round, Duran, at the Superdome in New Orleans. It's November 25th, 1980. Wish I was there to see it, though. As a young Cub reporter, I watched it. Duran had defeated Leonard in unanimous decision in Montreal in June, winning the 147-pound title. But this time, he got frustrated and he quit. Years later, the rest is history. Leonard would never forgive him, and then he did. In fact, up to about 10 years ago or even less, an ESPN special documentary showed how they made peace with each other. Since then, I've talked to the great Roberto Duran. He's been around New York City making his appearances, local establishments one of them that I attend up in the Bronx, and I've talked to him about it. He shakes his head. And he says in broken English, he puts his hands up and still can't explain what happened that night of November 25th, 1980. We do know this. It's a fight that lives in history because Roberto Duran then said no mas. And Sugar Ray Leonard and him eventually made peace and have become very good friends. A great time in boxing history that lives forever many years later. We congratulate our friend Crez Okendo, who's been on this program a few weeks ago, the former heavyweight, and a good one he was. And we have a photo. There it is, an image. He finally got it. And inducted into the Illinois Boxing Hall of Fame. So congratulations, Frez. You're not in the International Boxing Hall of Fame where you belong, but you are in the Hall of Fame, the Illinois Boxing Hall of Fame. And the news comes out today that Mike Tyson, Tyson, and why is Tyson on my mind? Still, Tyson Fury and Usyk rematch of the heavyweight championship December 1st in Saudi Arabia. Its pay-per-view price, December 21st, $39.99. So count on $40. What do you think? Also to be seen on pay-per-view.com. And in the Believe It or Not category, we think Mike Tyson was the oldest heavyweight to return to the ring this week. Not. It wasn't. Because how can this be so legitimate as legitimate it was? Remember Oliver McCall? At one point, he was a WBC heavyweight champion. But at 59 years of age, he didn't cry this time when he quit in a heavyweight title fight and left the ring. He had a mental collapse in the ring back then. But Tuesday night in Nashville, Tennessee, he returned to the ring at 59 years of age in a competitive fight that counted. It wasn't the greatest. I mean, he's 59 years old. But Oliver McCall won the fight, second round knockout over Stacey Frazier, his 40th win. Says he's going to fight again. It was ugly. Why would he want to do it again? He wasn't the Oliver McCall of the past. And he returned. And no, Mike Tyson now is not known as in history as the oldest heavyweight champion to return to the ring. It is Oliver McCall. Don't do it again, Oliver. It didn't look good. And on that, folks, that ends Keeping the Ring for this week. What are your thoughts? Like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Rich Mancuso, and at String Punk Entertainment and the AGT Network. Also, like my Keep It in the Ring page. We're here every week. And speaking of next week, it's Thanksgiving. We may not be on live. It's Thanksgiving night. You're all going to be enjoying friends and family, and you deserve it, and you're going to have a good time. So am I going to be also with family. So we're not going to be live, but watch my social media here on YouTube and all my social media feeds, and also at String Punk Entertainment, let you know when we're going to be on and how we're going to do it. We'll keep you informed. It's going to be a slow week with boxing anyway, though AEW Full Gear will be in effect. My thanks once again to Michael Olajide Jr. That was great. And to all of you, as always, who keep in touch and support this program. Thank you, Scott Churston. Thank you all. Stay well, be good to each other, and God bless. This is Rich Mancuso. As always, be good to each other. And as always, as I say, happy Thanksgiving and keep it in the ring. See you soon.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope.